All right, good morning. Hi. Yeah, it's early for me. I'm gonna give this a test run and see if this works because I usually work in the morning. So why not try to involve everybody? So we're going to call this art style Coffee-Kazee. I'm sure that's really going to work well. Anyway, so let's say, so I'm independent artist, C. Michael Lanning, and this is Masterpiece Theater.
The views and opinions The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
All right, good morning. Like I said, I'm Steve Michael Lanning, independent artist, and I'm going to try not to talk too loud because nobody likes a happy, cheerful, talking person early in the morning. And for me, it's like 4:45 in the morning. So 4:45 in the morning, 37 degrees outside, and yep, I'm here. I thought, well, I do this in the morning. I might as well go ahead and see if I could get some company this morning. So what I'm working on now is Doghouse 2 from Haslam Productions. Of course, you can go and find the first Doghouse over on HaslamProductions.com or Haslam.com. I think it's a website. I really should solidify that, right? But so what you see here is what I usually do is I print out the panels that I do digitally. Yep. And I'll draw them traditionally at work because thankfully I have a job where I do load things in a machine and I wait for the machine to run, so it gives me time to draw. Otherwise, I would fall asleep. So everything's cool. So what I'm doing now is going to turn it to blue, and I'm going to ink this. Try to make some final stages. If you got any questions, any comments, please go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm going to be here for at least for about 30 minutes. Then I got to go warm up my car. Like I said, it's 37 degrees outside. For some of the folks and friends up in the north that might not see them a lot, but here in this house, we can't take the cold. A snowflake is catastrophic most of the time. So anyway, I'm using Clip Studio, and I'm using the now get this. Okay, so I buy all of these pens and everything to try to get uh, try to figure out a good inking or a good pencil to use, and I end up coming back to the default Real G pen in Clip Studio, which is still pretty good. I do use it with a high stabilization and so on. So whatever, but because I would really like to get better on my inking, really, but what can you do? It's funny because I just finished Bonbot for the book is for Stephen Tanner Hurley wrote the book. He's Apothic Press. I don't think it's an Apothic Press book, but I'm not positive. Uh, I guess I need to ask him about that. But it's Bonbot Cosmic Princess. So spent this time doing for the past couple months. I've been doing buddies, right? Well, now I've switched from buddies to dogs. What can I say? And after this, I'm moving back over to fish people. Yes, yes, I live an exciting life. So anyway, so if you're in the chat, say something. Say hello, hello, morning, afternoon, wherever you're watching from. It's all good. I'm gonna try to keep the conversation up while doing this. Usually, guys, to be honest with you, I started the journey of watching the One Piece anime. And yeah, I've seen like the first uh, 1.5 episodes of the live action, but that wasn't really what got me to start watching it. It was actually if you've seen it and you see those things, you saw like Luffy in Gear 5, and I was like, okay, that caught my attention. So, but and if you don't know One Piece, episode count is up to right now. I think they're in the thousands. So I'm like at 365. Yeah, I'm not even scratching the surface yet, but I'm really enjoying it. Believe it or not, it's actually quite fun. I always kind of like those things where you had different villains, or it's not really a villain of the week kind of thing, but I always kind of liked the villain of the week because it was able to showcase like a lot of different, you know, crazy ideas and things like that. So I think that was pretty neat. And and One Piece is not afraid to be crazy at all. So what can he say? Uh, right now I'm on, and for those who know, I'm on the Thriller bark arc. That's hard to say, which has been really fun actually. It's very spooky, but and so far you think, oh my gosh, you got 1,000 and something episodes of the show. How the hell are you gonna get through that? And and really, and like right now, I'm like I said, I'm like 300 and something episodes in, which is probably like what, season 7? Oh wait, let's see, they had 24 episodes. 8. It's like season 12 of The Simpsons or something, right? So, but you think you'd get really bored with it, but I haven't done that yet. So there was one arc that was hard to get through. I will say that, but it's crazy stuff. I'm trying. You see, oh, golly, if anybody, you've got tips on any of this, this works. I am not. I do not consider myself. I had to mark something. I got on Discord yesterday, which is like, I think I've been on Discord one time years ago, a couple of years back. I couldn't quite understand it. Still don't quite understand it, which makes me realize that I'm probably freaking old now. But I won't tell anybody if you don't. And so I got on there, and I still don't get it. And but I'm trying. Like, I was invited to an artist Discord, so I got on there to try to, you know, do that. And yeah, I thought it was something that you could get on there and you could find other things. It doesn't seem to be that way. So if you have a Discord, or you're trying to look for people for your Discord, hit me up. Let me know. I'm more than happy. I'm right now. I'm kind of a Discord whore. I'll go anywhere because I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's just social media for you. Someone said ask the kids, but I think the kids aren't using Discord anymore. It's not. I think it's hip and cool. Although I do hear that LinkedIn is coming up, which that's kind of crazy. LinkedIn. I don't know. LinkedIn just sounds stuffy. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? So I'm trying to get these eyes, and draw the outline, and then ink it in. Usually I'm trying to get close up in here, because if you don't really get full uh, blacks, or you get these little white spots or whatever, and it bugs the hell out of me. Like, oh, you might not see it. You won't see it as small as it's going to be. Yeah, well, it still bugs me. And then like this area right here, it's like there's like these fly moments on the pins sometimes that it's like, gets to me. And I don't know if that's me or if that's the pen or what. But, you know, the fun thing about this is I've been doing like this kind of thing here. Uh, I like cartooning. I mean, in all honesty, like I used to try to do it to where I'm like, oh no, I could do realistic, blah 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 too, or realistic type, you know. But in all honesty, the more I do this, and I don't really have fun doing that myself. I totally understand people who do and enjoy doing it. But sometimes, if you're not enjoying doing it, maybe that's not the way that you really want to. That's not the style that you really want to look for. And even this, while it's a Disney type attitude, Disney type style, Disney afternoon type style, I still would like to go a little bit weirder with my shapes. Eventually, I've been planning on doing that. I do have. I'm trying to finish up a first draft of a project I'm working on. Because in all honesty, as much as I enjoy doing this and everything, I did get into it to. I do have some ideas of my own, believe it or not. So I'm trying to do that as well. Just trying to make clientele happy because I love my clients. I do. You guys are great. You hear horror stories about some of the same people in my quote unquote profession, uh, getting really like just horrible clients, and I gotta say I don't really have that. Uh, I did have one guy that wanted me to do this realistic style. I ended up drawing a character design for him. I did not get paid for that character design. He just decided he didn't want it. It's like whatever. I'm not doing that again. Sorry. But he wasn't horrible at all. I just told him, I said, look, I hope I didn't come off like an asshole, but I just kind of like, okay, look, next time I will draw things sometimes in a quote unquote realistic style just to keep my chops right, just expand and keep going. But other than that, I don't really do it very often. And somebody saw I posted it on, oh my gosh, like it had been a year at least by the time I posted it, and that was what he saw, and that was what he wanted. And it's like I try to give you what you want, but at the end of the day, I have to be able to enjoy doing this too. I have a 40-hour week job, so I do have a full time job. And of course, like anybody, it's kind of like like a professional footballer. Yeah, sure. Nobody's going to scoff at wanting to be, full time at something that they love. But at the end of the day, I still have to love it. If it begins to feel like a job, it gets kind of, you know, what's the point? And that's gonna, but and then in hindsight too, it's gonna feel like a job sometimes. That's just how that is. But if that's all it feels like, then I don't want to do it anymore. And I love drawing. Like I get this like hunger sometimes to draw. If that, I know that sounds weird, so I'll get out. But it's true. It's like there's just this urge, and I don't know. My wife thinks I'm ADHD or ADD. I'm not hyper enough to be ADHD. Um, I don't know. I got tested when I was a kid. I didn't get that, but I don't know. Is that something you develop later on? Maybe. Mm. but sometimes I'll be doing something else. And the thing about being an artist is just because you don't have a pen or pencil or color marker or Crayola on the paper doesn't mean you stop thinking about how to draw and how to art. In fact, like so much of a percentage of how you think goes into drawing. And it's like, yeah, there's techniques, but everybody has different techniques. Otherwise, we would have so many different books. And it's out there. I'm never like, people like, oh, okay, this is gonna sound gross, and I'm sure you don't want to hear it at, you know 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, wherever you are. Maybe, who knows? Maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. If you're on the West Coast, high West Coast, why are you still up? But I I've never been quite aware of myself. Like, like some people are like, oh, well, I don't want to eat that because it gives me gas. Okay, let's look at about that. I don't want to drink this after a certain time because it'll keep me up at night. So I'm not aware of that very well. So it takes me a while to realize I will learn a technique, get it down, and completely forget about it. That's how I do it. Sounds professional, right? Let me tell you. But it happens. But on the flip side of that, when I do remember it and able to apply it as a common habit, it's something totally great. And it's like a fountain goes off in your head. Uh, I, how do you explain this type? It's too early in the morning to have explanations. That's the problem. But golly. So I need to get back over on Instagram because I'm kind of like, the thing about social media is, in order to keep it going, you gotta keep being social, right? And it's like, it's for an artist, it's a hard thing to do for a couple of reasons, right? And I'm sure if you're an artist and you're listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, okay, most artists are kind of to themselves. They're introverts or subverts or lycanthrope or whatever the case is, and they're not really being social is kind of a hard thing to be and to be entertaining. Which I'm trying to be entertaining, but I'm also trying to get work done. Oh boy. And for like, you got to go, oh, wait, I thought Art Style Coffee-Kazee comes on Saturday nights. Well, it does. That's the main show. And like I said, if you just tuning in, I'm calling this Art Style Coffee-Kazee. It's going to catch. I believe that's going to catch. It's going to be a thing. That's a thing. It's not going to be a thing, is it? But this week, this past week, if you haven't gotten to watch, check it out on YouTube, of course, at indiecomics.com. And we went through concept art, right? Which was really, really cool. We looked at the Guardians. Okay, we looked at some of the Marvel concept art stuff, and I'll be honest with you. Some of it's really cool. Some of it's really great. Um, but there's a feeling on it that's just very tied down to me. Like, you could tell that maybe studios have it like locked down, and they could be as creative as they wanted to be with it. And it's kind of bittersweet to see some of this concept art, because you're like, oh, that would have been awesome, but obviously they didn't have the budget to do it. You know, it's like it'd be great. And I kind of feel for concept artists because in that they're like put all this great work in there and they put all this stuff in there that's they I'm sure would love to see come to fruition. But this is not going to work. Watch, it's going to go all black because I left something open. Yep, told you. Look at that. I should leave it like that, right? This makes a statement. This is the problem right here. Let's try it again. There we go. So, so you kind of feel for concept artists, like, and then sometimes people don't see their work, and you really have to. I implore you to go and research some concept artists, take a look at their stuff, learn some names, guys. Somebody threw out there Keith Thompson the other day. You know, just try to learn their names because these people really do a lot of hard work to bring these things to life. And it'd be really great if they get some credit for it. Like, oh, my favorite concept designer is, you know, and they look like they have fun with it. So, but, but this week, Jaden, who's my co-host on Saturday Art Style Coffee-Kazee, is going to be. She and I have decided that we're going to pick out some character designs out there by different people, and see if maybe we can learn a little bit about ourselves, about each other, what makes us tick, what makes us when we think of concept art, or when we think of character design, what's appealing. One thing that I really enjoy about art is called shape language. And if you don't know what that is, shape language is the overall. Uh, Sometimes it's a silhouette, but it's the overall shape that it's what you initially see. You'll be surprised when you go back and you look at something. You're like, you have it fixed in your head how something is. You go back and you look at it, and you find out real quick that it's not as detailed as you thought it was. And it's almost like the artist is tricking you into thinking that it's more than it actually is. And that sometimes has to do a lot with shape language. And that shape language is what's going to convey the feel of the piece. That's going to be the first thing, even though people don't realize it. That's the first thing that they're going to see. So that's what I like to concentrate on, and so we're going to. I think that's going to play a lot into this week's Art Style Kamikaze, which is Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on IndieComicsNetwork.com, and of course right here on Facebook, and now on Twitch. I feel like I should have like an advertisement or something for it. Now on Twitch. Does that work? Let's feel like a cola. Now available in Walmart. Art Style Kamikaze. Good. Yep. So check that out. I'm curious to see what she's going to bring, because I mean she's a different generation. She's Generation Z. I think that's what it is. I remember coming up, and technically I'm on the tail end of Generation X. I don't care what you say. I'm on the tail end of Generation X. But the next generation was called Generation Y. All right, of course, because Generation X, Generation Z, you have Generation Y. The thing about it is, we don't call them Generation Y. We call them Millennials. And I think that fits so perfect, doesn't it? Generation Y. Why? But I'm completely honest with you. At the end of the day, the generation stuff is kind of bogus. They're like, you'll find people who are into certain things that are outside of their generation all the time and things like that. So I was telling my kids the other day, you always see this thing. It has been 40 years or 43 years since the 80s. It's like, no, it's been what? You got to think the 80s ended in 1989, right? You had 9 years of the 80s. So saying the 80s was 40 years ago, it was less than 40 years ago because we still had 9 years of the 80s. So don't feel too old. That's all I can say. Even though I'm 43, but still. And I creak when I wake up now. Does anybody else do that? Growing old sucks. But but this has its advantages too. Let's not like have that cliche, because there's a lot of things I know now. Like I wish I. Oh my gosh, talk about cliched sayings. But I wish I was a little more disciplined in my youth, like I am now. But so so if you're younger, take that in heed. One of the things, believe it or not, talent is not the number one thing that's going to get you noticed. It's discipline and consistency. It's crazy to me because I see people who are just phenomenal artists get nothing, nowhere, and it's because there's no discipline. They're not consistent. And the bad thing about it is you can be a great artist, and if you're just starting out, you you just got to stay consistent, man. You just have to, because any slip, especially now, I don't know how they have it. There's a saying in the South, I guess, I don't know, that says, that we're basically a microwave generation. It, and to an extent, that's true. Right? Things happen instantly, and attention can be diverted so quickly. I mean, they've got YouTubers now writing for SNL. What does that tell you? Which I don't know. I just watched Please Don't Destroy Treasure of Foggy Mountain. That was hilarious. It was actually really funny. Uh, I'm just going to say that John Goodman's part, especially at the end, is just you gotta love John Goodman. And controversy comes out about John Goodman. I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's the last classy pillar in Hollywood. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's others. Of course, you think about it. Of course, the older you get, and the more you get into this, you realize, oh, these people are just the same as you or me. They have jobs and they have lives and things like that. So, and projects. So it becomes really easy to see why certain movies and television shows and things like that don't get made, because of budgets and producers and blah 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 blah. And, okay, this is boring. So, but yeah, but it's consistency. It's you got to keep going. You got to keep moving. I was looking. They had a reel the other day of all the famous people that were on Miami Vice, and it's like, golly, people they were so young. And like, I'll give you an example: Giancarlo Esposito, who everybody now knows is Gus from Breaking Bad, or even better, called Saul. And the thing about that is, I knew Giancarlo Esposito uh, from a movie called Fresh that came out like mid '90s, and of course he's been doing stuff. But he was even on Miami Vice real young, back in back in the '80s. That consistency is now paid off. People know who he is. They see him on Star Wars and of course Breaking Bad stuff, and you know, consistently. I think he was on The Boys, so but he's been consistent. He's been getting out there. He's hustling. That's just how it is. It doesn't happen overnight. The problem is trying to keep your head up, trying to. And so that's my positive affirmation today as I leave you, is to, even though it may seem dark and dank and you're not getting anywhere, consistent, keep trying, don't give up. While I try to get back on Instagram and build that back up again. So I will take my own advice. Anyway, I've been doing this for 30 minutes now. I have to go warm up my car for the next 30 minutes. So I will leave you with this thought. Think your best way to approach your consistency and what's going to be, beneficial to you in the long run. Like what can you adjust to make sure that you are consistent in your art, in your writing, and whatever you do, and in your play, if you're, whatever the case is, and don't give up. Just consistently be there. And what I will try to do is I will try to consistently be here in the mornings and maybe give you a positive affirmation. I'll find some Stuart Smiley clip. I am worth it. I am, so with that being said, you've been watching Art Style Coffee-Kazee. It's going to catch, I believe it. And thanks for tuning in. I think if I don't see you tomorrow, check out Saturday when we go over some character designs. So y'all have a good day.
You have been watching Art Style Coffee-Kazee. If you've experienced headaches, bleeding, or a pleasurable euphoria, please consult a physician. Unless you like that kind of thing.